Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Car Reviews podcast with CollectorCarCanada.CA. The two cars in front of which I am standing are a little bit of foreshadowing about one of the cars we are going to talk about today. We have a 2020 Ford Mustang Bullitt, about 8,100 kilometers with a 6-speed manual. So I thought it would be neat to shoot this little intro in front of a couple of its cousins. To my far right, the red car is a 1966 Mustang convertible, a lot like one we have currently on our Buy It Now lot. You can see that as lot 218 on our website. And then a little closer to me is a second generation Ford GT. So distinct from the GT40s of the 1960s. You may know that the part of the inspiration for the 40 part of that name is that the car was 40 inches high. Well, this second generation from 2005 is, I believe, 44 inches high, and it's just known as a Ford GT. On to the cars we have on offer. As I said, we've got the 2020 Mustang Bullitt, 8,100 kilometers with a 6-speed manual, finished in Highland Green, the traditional Bullitt car, inspired by the 1968 movie starring Steve McQueen of the same name. Very proper car, very rarely even caught in rain, although you're going to see we got caught in just a little bit of drizzle when we filmed the review of it. But it is lot 233 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. Please have a look when you have a chance. And the other car this week we want to tell you about is a 1980 Fiat 124 Spider 2000. So that one is a blue on blue 1980. During the model year 1980, Fiat went from carbureted to fuel injection. And this car is from early in the model year. In fact, it was built in, I did check the VIN plate, it escapes me right now. I think it was August or September of 1979. So a carbureted car, a 2-barrel carburetor. That feeds a 2-liter inline 4 with a 5-speed manual, getting power to the rear wheels, and of course it's a Spider. Lots of recent work done on this car. Please take a look at the detailed listing for lot 234 for the details. And one item that's happened since the photos were done for the car is that it has a new top. So brand new manual top installed for the new owner to enjoy. So again, we've got the 8,100 kilometer 2020 Ford Mustang Bullitt in Highland Green over ebony leather with green stitch on the seats to match the exterior. And then we've got the 1980 Fiat 124 Spider 5-speed manual convertible with a new top and lots of other recent work. Both cars, Ontario buyers, please note, both cars come with an Ontario Safety Standards certificate. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hi everyone, and welcome to another great car here on the Car Reviews podcast with CollectorCarCanada.CA. Mustang aficionados will recognize it. Today we have a 2020 Ford Mustang Bullitt. It's got a 6-speed manual transmission and very low miles. It just went over 8,000 kilometers, so we're promoting it as under 8,100 kilometers. So those who've seen our videos know the drill. I'll start it up, we'll pop the hood, listen to the engine, listen to the exhaust, and then we'll do a little tour of the car. So this one is lot 233 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. And before I continue with the car, just a reminder that we also have the Collector Car Stories podcast available on the channel. And if you're watching this Mustang, you might really like the most current two videos. They both focus on Mustang from the Fox body era of Mustangs. We've got a really great enthusiast on it. And that's what we do with those Collector Car Stories podcasts. We talk to an enthusiast or group of enthusiasts about a car, a road trip, or just some kind of a car story or car show. And if you think you might have something you'd like to share and be part of a future episode, please hit us up. On every page of the website, you'll see a link to contact us or you can drop us a line by email, admin@CollectorCarCanada.CA. And we always look forward to hearing what people want to talk about. So please do drop us a line if you'd like to be part of a future episode. So back on to this 2020 Ford Mustang Bullitt with under 8,100 kilometers. So I'll give it a start. Started right up with no trouble at all. I'll just make sure we've got the car in neutral and the brake is set. I'll pop the hood here and I'll come around, grab the camera and hold it by hand so we can get a good look under hood. Okay, so there's a good look at the Mustang Bullitt in dark Highland green. I'll cruise on in. I've already popped the hood as you saw, and I'll release it. And this car's still got a prop rod. We'll prop it up right there. And away we go. So the one thing that's really noticeable right from the start is this brace, and it's even got a Bullitt emblem right on it. This car, 5-liter V8, the Coyote engine, tuned a little differently from the Mustang GTs of the period, so the S550 Mustang GTs. This is still an S550, but this 5-liter is tuned to produce 480 horsepower. So a bit of a surge from the Mustang GT of the period. I always like these powered by Ford insignia here over the valve cover. Of course, with that brace, they're not quite as visible. So the car really does look almost new. Certainly we have the original owner with us today. He bought the car in 2019. He actually traded a 68 Mustang to buy this one, but I'm showing off those shock towers just because, boy, the car really does look well kept and almost new. Even the air filter, which is where the dust will collect, is looking pretty clean and new. So there's a good look, and there's a hood insulation. Everything looking almost right out of the factory. So sorry for the picture here. Just to release the prop rod, I kind of need two hands. And that's into place. Now I'll walk around the back and we'll get a listen to that exhaust. Okay, we had a bit of a lull in the action because the raindrops have begun here, and I wanted to offer to put the car inside the owner's garage, but he said to continue on. It's not pouring. I'm not going to get wet, but I didn't want his car to get dirty. But we'll make sure he tidies it up before it gets to its new owner. But I'll cut the engine now, and we'll do a good exterior tour. Just while I'm thinking of it, here is the odometer. So under 8,100 kilometers. So again, the 2020 Ford Mustang Bullitt, it's finished in dark Highland green. There are two colors for the Bullitt in 2020. The other one is it's a black, I believe it's called Shadow Black, but certainly the dark Highland green is loyal to the roots of the Bullitt. And that's a 68 Mustang from the movie by the same name, Bullitt, starring Steve McQueen. And that's part of the lore of the Bullitt name. So getting close to the wheels and tires, these are a Heritage Edition wheel. There's a stagger on them. So up front, we've got the original Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, 255/40 ZR19, Y-rated. And the black Heritage Edition wheel with the polished outside. And as you can see, we've got Brembo calipers up front, and those are operated with 6 pistons. But this car is a factory car, no modifications to it. There's a look at the VIN, which you can trace to our detailed listing. Again, it's lot 233 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. Here's a look at the rear tire on the driver's side and wheel. Heritage Edition wheel. It's also 19 inches on the rear, a little wider to accommodate the 275 40 ZR19. So 275 40 ZR19 tire in the rear. And again, Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. Original to the car, so these tires are under 8,100 kilometers driven. So I do encourage you to take a look at that detailed listing for lot, excuse me, lot 233. You'll see the car in much different light. We're not blessed with great light today. As I say, there are a few raindrops falling. The car looks really different in the sun. It almost looks black today, but this is the dark Highland green color of Bullitt. One of many interesting things on the Bullitt is that there are no Mustang badges on the car. You can see a Bullitt emblem right here on the rear deck. And while I'm thinking of it, it's not where we're at with the review of the car, but I'll also show you the grille where we're used to seeing a Mustang emblem, the traditional Mustang emblem of the Mustang horse sort of riding right to left. Not on this car, from the factory. That really differentiates the Bullitts from the other Mustangs and even the Mustang GTs. So dark Highland green in the paint. This does have the sequential illuminating indicator lights. And so we've got a dual exhaust with twin exits on either side. That light above the exhaust is just a reflector. And in the center is where we find the reverse light. So just the one center reverse light. And then here again, another dual exit exhaust, the right side of the dual exhaust. While I'm down on one knee, I'll show you the underside of the car, and it's going to look almost brand new. I really was taken aback by the photos that the seller provided of the underside when the car was recently up on a lift. It looks, I don't want to call it brand new because it's not, but boy, it looks almost brand new. So I think we've staved off the rain. However, the raindrops still appear on the car. I do encourage you to see the photos of the car in the sun on our detailed listing for lot 233. Here's a good look at the passenger side Heritage Edition wheel, 19 inch. And I'm going in close on all the wheels just to see if I can find any marks, and I don't see any. So that's the passenger side rear, also with the red caliper. The calipers are red all the way around, but I'll note that only the fronts are Brembo with the 6-piston operation. Passenger side front wheel, again, I don't see any marks even on that polished lip. As you might guess, having traded in a 68 Mustang to buy this one, we also might have noticed a GT350 in his garage. This owner's pretty fastidious. He mentioned to me 2 stone chips on the car, one by the grille and one up by the windshield, above the windshield. So I haven't even noticed them yet. If I notice them, I'm going to show them to you. But we do have that verbal description from the owner. So again, there's the front end of the car. Again, the grille is bereft of any Mustang emblem. So that really does give it a bit of a different look from the other Mustangs of the year, the period, the S550 generation. And we've got an integrated fog light package with that indicator below the headlight. And I'm just trying to find this stone chip he's talking about. I don't see it. There's some venting on the hood here. And then I'll try and find the chip that's above the windshield. I don't see it either. So maybe after we're shooting the video, I'll ask him about that. We'll see about getting a photo of both on the detailed listing. But yeah, that's a good look at the exterior of the car. Let's climb inside and we'll get a look at the inside. Another differentiator of the Bullits from the other Mustangs is that certainly the Highland green ones, you can see the stitch on the ebony seat is in green, a nice accent stitch which matches the exterior of the car. So I'll climb in, and I won't start it, but I will turn on, put the key to on so that we can see the instrumentation, because it is electronic LCD. You can see that Mustang. That's our only Mustang emblem, I believe, when the head unit starts up. So here we go with a speedometer good to 300 kilometers an hour, an 8,000 RPM tach with a red line right around 7,400 RPM. And you can see there are a whole host of buttons here on each side of the Bullitt emblem on the steering wheel. And that part of what's going on there is that all this instrumentation is customizable. So in the owner's manual, certainly there are instructions on how you step from display to display. I don't really want to adjust it on the owner here. I'm sure he's got it to what he likes. Although I don't expect he's going to be driving it much before sale, because he did say that the car is going to go with under 8,100 kilometers. So a couple of fixed gauges here in the center stack for vacuum and oil pressure. And then we do a pretty good job of describing this head unit with multifunction. It's part of the Ford, it's a Ford Microsoft Sync system. And we've got a bit of a cue ball shifter for the 6-speed manual. And one thing I like about these S550 Mustangs are these switches as opposed to buttons. They really do harken back to the first generation Mustangs. Climate control with the dual zone. And then these buttons are to operate the head unit as well. So we do have, as I keep saying, we're working with a Bullitt Mustang here today. And it is a special car, specialized from the Mustang GTs. And the Bullits are all numbered cars. You can see that this one is number 854 from the 2020 run. We've got precise numbers on the detailed listing, but the Bullitt was sold to a number below 500 in Canada, a few thousand when you consider the ones sold in the US. And that's how we end up with Bullitt number 854 today. I think I mentioned this is an early car. The owner purchased it in 2019, before the winter of 1920. So I'll turn off the ignition, and maybe I'll just zoom in on a few other exterior features. Speaker on the lower door, upper door, tweeters up here in the A pillar, but a modern head unit here. Electronics. So we got the handbrake set there. It's pretty conspicuous as it's up high. Got a set of 2 cup holders there in the console as well, and then a little bit of storage holders, and airbags on the side of the seats. We've got a power seat here for the driver, and just reinforcing that green stitch, contrasting with the ebony leather and consistent with the green finish of the car. Those chrome Bullitt door sill plates look pretty neat, and we can see here the date of the manufacture of the car. So it's in 2019, as I was mentioning. And then just a little look at the rear seat. Looks almost unused. Maybe it is unused, but the matching ebony leather with the green contrasting stitch. We'll grab the key so that we can have a look at the trunk as well. Show that passenger seat before we climb into the trunk, though. So yeah, we've got a power control for the passenger seat as well. And there's that Bullitt emblem again, signifying car number 854. So that trunk is operable from the key fob. A few cleaning effects here for that the owner's left. He's got his California car duster. There's a big subwoofer to add to the sound in the car from that Microsoft Sync system. And down below we've got a compressor without the spare in this car. Pretty spotless all around. And maybe it'd be fun if I finished off by showing you those sequential indicator lights. So we'll do a final walk around the car and then we'll move towards some final thoughts. So there's our sequential indicators. Dark Highland green over the ebony with green stitch interior. 2020 Ford Mustang Bullitt 6-speed manual with 480 horsepower from the factory, under 8,100 kilometers. Lot 233 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. And you can even see that indicator lights up on the mirror. So that's a good look at the car. We'll move to some closing thoughts. So that's a good look at the 2020 Ford Mustang Bullitt. Again, it's on CollectorCarCanada.CA as lot 233. It's blessed with a 6-speed manual transmission, under 8,100 kilometers. So please do have a good look at the detailed listing. Again, lot 233, CollectorCarCanada.CA. We'll wrap up this video. Thank you for watching, and on to the next car. Hi everyone, welcome to another great car here on the Car Reviews podcast with CollectorCarCanada.CA. Today we have a 1980 Fiat Spider 2000 designed by Pininfarina. Lot number on this one is 234 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. So I'm almost ready to start it here. We'll turn off the microphone I have at my person and go to the camera's microphone so you can hear the camera hear the camera's microphone as we start it up. So here we go with the startup. We'll have a listen to the engine, the exhaust, and then we'll get to a tour of the car. As you might be able to have heard, this car's got an aftermarket exhaust, which is a little throatier than stock. And I'll just pop that hood, clamshell with the front hinge. And I'll grab the camera, we'll switch the picture around for a handheld camera portion of the video and start the tour. Okay, so we'll continue on with the 1980 Fiat Spider 2000. As I say, it's a front hinged hood, and that setup right there allows us to have it propped up without even a prop. So that's a good look at the 2000cc 1980 Fiat engine. You can see a Fiat label here on the air cleaner. And I'll put the microphone down a little closer to the engine itself so we can get a good listen. So it's got a nice healthy idle. And another, let's listen, get a little closer to that belt down below here. The car is cool, so you can see that rad fan is not blowing. And back to the exhaust here. As I say, this has got an aftermarket exhaust. It's a little throaty, and the owner figures it's worth a good, oh, we won't estimate, but a little more horsepower than stock. Alright, so there's a good listen to the engine and the exhaust. And we'll get to it with a tour of the rest of the car. I'll cut the engine though. We don't need it right now. Give you you one last look at the engine before we start the tour of the exterior of the car. Without it running, of course. And putting the hood down is as easy as putting it up. There we go. Take it shut. So as I say, 2,000 cubic centimeter engine in this 1980 Fiat Spider 2000 short, I guess part of the nomenclature for the 2000cc engine. Finished in a light blue. There are a few blemishes on the body, and we'll try to point those out as we go. There's one up here by this emblem here on the front. In fact, that emblem just went on a few days ago. Would you believe someone stole the emblem from the car just as the seller was prepping it for sale? But he was fastidious and he replaced it. So there's a new emblem in place. But there's a pretty good sized chip here by the emblem. So there it is with a toonie to give you a sense of perspective. And there are a couple of paint bubbles by it as well. Give you a good sense. So working our way around. So we're taking the owner at his word on this one. He tells me that your typical 1980 built Fiat 2000 Spider is fuel injected. However, he says this is an early build, built in 1979, and it's running a carburetor. And the reason that came up is because he pointed out that the carburetor was recently rebuilt. So we could hear fuel getting delivered to the engine pretty reliably there as we had it idling. So I'd say the carburetor's working pretty reliably. And we've got a set of 13-inch Fiat wheels all the way around. If you look closely, you can see an inscription that they're made in Italy.
Please disregard these tires. Another set of tires has been installed as photographed on the detailed listing for lot 234.
And I think I mentioned already how this design is by Pininfarina, the famed Italian design house that's done work also for the likes of Ferrari, and that emblem there is signify the Pininfarina design. Here's a look at the driver's rear 13-inch Fiat wheel, again with the Pirelli P8000s. Only one exterior mirror on this car. There is not one on the passenger side, just here on the driver's side, and it's got the black cap. While we're at it, I'll show you the serial number, which will match up to the CCC Vital Info area of the listing. Again, it's lot 234 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. Now, those who have seen our videos before have heard me say that I like to point out the sort of the worst part of the car, and I think we found it here. There's been a little body repair done on the cheap here with some touch-up paint. There is some, I'll also mention, there is some touch-up paint that comes along with the car in the glove box, but not perfect, but also reflected in the expected price by the seller. And just ahead of it here on this wheel well is another little bubble. And with the tuning, you get a sense of the size of it. Convertible top, as I say, and of course, this one's got the parade boot in place, covering the top when it's folded down. There's an antenna, fuel door. There are close-ups of that in the detailed listing. Chrome bumpers front and rear on the car. There's a good look at the rear. And then the tail lights with the integrated indicators and reverse lights. And it took me a minute to find it when I wanted to get into the trunk, but you can see the keyhole for the trunk is inside that last zero, the 2000 emblem there. And there's something in that trunk I want to show you, so let's go and grab the key now while I'm thinking of it. It's still sitting in the ignition from when I started the car. So working our way back to the trunk. Yeah, I'll pop that into the keyhole. release that. It looked like I was fumbling. It's because I'm not familiar with the car. The key works perfectly. So the seller wanted me to point out this car comes with this new top. So uninstalled, but a new top here in the trunk. To go along with it, there's also a full-size spare in the trunk here too. I'll get this new top back into place in the trunk, and I can show you that spare tire below this piece of cardboard here. So a full-size spare, the 13-inch, and working our way. So that trunk, just pretty lightweight door, pops right down, no trouble at all. So there's a little bit of corrosion here on the chrome bumper, nothing too bad. No perforation, certainly. And we're getting a little bit of sun here, just on the sun side of the car as we make our way over it. So you can see this light blue really is pretty snappy. It does pop, and it looks pretty sharp here on the 1980 Fiat Spider. So, trying to see flaws on this side. I think the worst we have for a flaw here is down here at the base of the door on the passenger side. And there's a look at the Pininfarina badge here on the passenger side of the car. There is a little bit of upset too here on these door handles, the chrome door handle. There's a bit of pitting there. I also saw it on the driver's door. I'll show you that while I'm thinking of it too. But here's a good look at the chrome bumper up front. And a slight bit of corrosion, I suppose, up here on the front one as well. I'll get my Toonie out again, and we can have a look at that for perspective's sake. So pretty tiny little spots. And there's a good look at the grill, feeding that 2-liter Fiat engine. And I said I'd show you the driver's door. Here it is, with a bit of pitting on the chrome on that door handle. So we'll climb into the car. Actually, I'm not going to climb into it. It is a 4-seater, but it's a pretty tight little car. So I'm not going to. I can shoot it from outside of the car. That's what I'm going to do. So these door cards, pretty basic. I do note that I imagine that was for a remote mirror control. So to control the mirror, you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, just with your hand right on the mirror itself. Crank windows and vent windows. I'd say it's also missing a little controller for the vent window on the driver's side. There we can see it on the passenger side. No trouble keeping it sealed though on the driver's side. It's just a hand operated item without the lever, as we saw on the passenger side. 3-spoke steering wheel, original instrumentation with a speedometer that maxes out at 220 kilometers an hour. We've got a odometer reading there of 19,913, but we're going to be selling this one as a true mileage unknown car, TMU. 8,000 RPM tachometer, red line though at 6,000. And in the center there's a coolant temperature gauge, and to the left fuel gauge, and to the right an analog clock, which I'm pleased to relate is still working. It's now 10 past 5, so we've got a functional analog clock. The light control is here on a really basic little switch. 5-speed manual transmission for this car with a wooden shift knob that's not labeled with the gears. You can see there's a label for the gears down below here aft of the ashtray. In the center stack, we've got wiper controls, we've got a brake, a light for the emergency brake, 4-way control, and a seatbelt warning. And on the far right, the dial controls the dash lighting, dash backlighting. And another little thing that the seller's just done to prep the car for sale is to install a reasonably period correct AM/FM stereo cassette, which is a Radio Shack product. So speaking of period correct, they were everywhere in 1980, of course. We don't get them anywhere, but you can see Optimus brand on that cassette door. That was an in-house brand at Radio Shack, just like Realistic was. Another little thing, just like the analog clock I was impressed by, is this Little map plate, still functional. Not bad for a 1980. Here's a little ashtray, pretty clean. And there is a lighter up here as well. Up here on that piece of wood. That wooden dash is sharp, and the dash cover up top, the dash pad, it's a vinyl finish, but no cracking on it. I've got the emergency brake set, and there are the, I'd say HVAC, but that would be exaggerating it. No air conditioning on this car. So heat and ventilation. You can see the heat label and the defrost label right there. So yeah, blue vinyl seats, not leather, that's vinyl. But they remain in pretty good condition for a 1980 car. If you see any mess on here, it's not tears in the upholstery. We're being blessed with some falling leaves nearby. I guess that's the backside of these natural surroundings we chose today. But a little bench in the rear for short-term passengers. Probably not best for a long trip. But that gives you a good sense of the interior of the car as well. I'll show you the visors. There's even a mirror on the passenger visor, which you didn't see on every car in 1980. So one last walk around the car, and we'll move to some closing thoughts. Beautiful day here near the seller's home with a waterfall in the rear here. So that gives you a good look at the 1980 Fiat 2000 Spider by Pininfarina, and it's lot 234 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. So there's a good look at the 1980 Fiat 2000 Spider by Pininfarina. Again, it is lot 234 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. One thing I've left out to date is that for Ontario buyers, this car comes with an Ontario Safety Standard Certificate. So it's already safety for Ontario license plates, ready to go. Again, lot 234 on CollectorCarCanada.CA, 1980 Fiat Spider 2000 by Pininfarina. Thank you for watching, and on to the next car.